This is spEarz to the streets. 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 This is spEarz to the streets. spEarz to the streets. spEarz to the streets. This is spEarz to the streets. Get down to the beat, or get beat down in the street.
Performance between Monet and Riho at All Out 7 is what exclusive action figures commemorate. And I say that as a person who has bought Riho and Monet action figures in the past. The ring gear between the two, Riho in the blue skirt / white trunks, while Monet wore that tiger print, walking in with a bunch of men holding her belts for her like some eunuchs. Jazzwares needs to make a PPV exclusive ASAP and ship that thing to Target. Though Monet did her best to come off as the heel, it was clear throughout the match that she had an immense respect for Riho as a Joshi athlete. Either that or Riho was just unfazed by Monet's antics from the start, mocking the Monet dance in the most humorous spot, other than Monet attempting to do the double stomp twice and missing the signature both times, looking like she was hopping on an imaginary pogo stick instead of landing on her target. This was second only to Monet missing a sweep with her arm that Riho just hopped over, but by the time Monet changed her mind on a standing hold, instead opting for a big drop kick that caught Riho like that 619 she delivered earlier on Monet, the champ was back on her job. Riho, on the other hand, was hitting her double stomps with precision, looking like something straight out of Tekken. Easily the best of these spots were when Riho hit the double stomp on Monet off the apron, followed very quickly by another off the announce table, which left Monet clutching her stomach in an agony that only the audience can revel in. Riho's submissions were not well thought out, as Monet kept escaping them simply with rope breaks. But that isn't to say that Riho's takedowns to get Monet in those compromised positions weren't powerful or entertaining. Though when it comes to submissions, that torture rack Monet put down on the floor was a submission of the night, just based off of the position Monet was lying on the floor. Not once did the ref count that her shoulders were down, which was a feat in itself. Monet really displayed her upper body strength from the spot while Riho jobbed out, much to my glee. Riho, small as she is, selling hits is to be expected, but our All Out 7, she reached a different tier given the chosen ring gear in Toronto. This was Monet's sexiest title defense in a minute, and a big part of the sensual equation here was Riho. Add to that this bout ended with Monet underhandedly raking Rio's eyes to bust out a crazy combo with a tombstone into a code breaker, while adding insult to injury by hitting a backstabber for the pin, and this shifted All Out 7 into one of Monet's most vicious title defenses as well. I won't be surprised if Riho only came back as a special appearance for this dream match the AEW audience was waiting for back when Monet was still going by Sasha. Chances are Riho heads to a different promotion instead of sticking around as enhancement talent, while Monet, after the events later on that week on the Dynamite Anniversary show, I project will be moving to add the new women's AEW tag titles to her collection. And I would be remiss if I did not mention how, despite this dream match, despite AEW finally adding tag titles to its women's division, it's still stupid that later on that night at All Out, Chris Statlander walked out world champion. Storm just had a champion versus champion match against Monet. Storm should have dropped the title then, not now. It's ridiculous that there's never been a black women's world champion, especially with Monet in her prime today and picking up titles everywhere else. It makes zero sense for Statlander to have the title. I'd like to see Monet with that belt before her belt collector run ends. It isn't like any of the women in that Fatal 4-0 deserved an action figure after their match at All Out. Only 2 women on that card did, and one of them is still the TBS champion.
This is spEarz to the streets. 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 This is to the streets. To the streets. To the streets. spEarz to the streets. This is spEarz to the streets. Get down to the beat, or get beat down in the street.